The Bulls a few days ago now traded one of the most sought-after wing defenders and quarter three-point shooters in the league in Alex Caruso for a 21-year-old coming off the worst season of his career in Josh Giddey. I'm going to put aside all the controversy that comes with Josh Giddey right now at this stage of his career and mostly focus on what the Bulls were thinking here. The Bulls are coming off a disappointing season this year. Again, Lonzo Ball looks like he's ramping up to hopefully play next year, but I'll discuss why I feel like the Bulls have no faith in him at all later. Ayo Dosunmu, despite the Bulls' lack of urgency in re-signing him, has had a statistically great back half of the season this year, and Coby White was runner-up in most improved player conversations and really should have won if we were going off the definition of the literal award, but Tyrese Maxey had a great season too, so I can't be too mad at it. The Bulls realized as a front office they have to pick a direction at this point, and that direction has to be selling. You cannot continue to convince your fan base that knew from the beginning that this team was not contenders, that they're somehow contenders. Like, you can't just continue to lie to your fan base. NBA front offices sometimes, I think, overestimate how stupid their fan base is. And yeah, like, you go on Twitter, sometimes I think fan bases are stupid too. But that's a very isolated, small minority. If I went out and asked anyone in Chicago who was a Bulls fan and said, how do you feel about the status of the team? 99.9% of them that are true fans would tell you, we need to sell all of our players, sign and trade DeMar DeRozan, get rid of Zach LaVine, sell on Alex Caruso, build up the young guys, hopefully re-sign Patrick Williams for a number that's not ridiculously high, and go from there. But the Bulls have been in denial of doing that for 2 years now. But at the end of the day, the Bulls have done what they've done, and they're reaping what they sow right now. So you have to trade Alex Caruso to get some value for him. You should have traded him and DeMar at the deadline if you were a realistic franchise, but you're not. You continue to convince your fan base that for some reason getting to the play-in is being a contender, which is not true. This was obviously a bad decision. If you're a serious franchise, which it feels like the Bulls haven't been since they originally acquired the players to form this iteration of the Bulls, you wouldn't settle for being in the play-in consistently. Being mid in the NBA is a very difficult product to sell to your fan base, because at least if you're tanking, you're trying to be better, and if you're contending, obviously you're contending. But if you're just consistently in the play-in like the Hawks or the Bulls, that's a really hard product to convince your fans to continue to watch every season, especially when there's 82 games a season. You know what I mean? Like, some nights you watch a Bulls game and you're like, wow, this might be a top 5 seed in the East, and the East is weak, so, take that for what you will. But then other nights, it's like, holy shit, sell everyone. We look like the Detroit Pistons tonight. That's like how much of a variation the Chicago Bulls play. Not to mention that middle ground is incredibly difficult to get out of. I think the Pacers did a good job of getting out of that middle ground this season, but that's because they have a lot of young players. Tyrese Halliburton was a great trade, and signing Pascal Siakam raised their ceiling astronomically high. And though they got some good luck getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, at the end of the day, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. It doesn't matter how they got there. Like I said, that middle ground is incredibly difficult to get out of, especially if you refuse to tank for a better pick. And when you get those draft picks, you either don't hit on them or you fail to develop the players you draft. Bulls fall under both of those umbrellas. So when I saw the Bulls had traded Alex Caruso, I thought, finally, they traded him for some young pieces and some picks, maybe just one piece and a pick, like something like that, just to like a contender that needs another player, like maybe a young wing or center to hopefully develop so you can move on from Vooch. But no, you trade for Josh Giddey. I look at my phone after I get off my shift. I see Chicago Bulls guard Alex Caruso traded for Josh Giddey. All right, what picks? What picks are involved, right? Surely it's not just straight up Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey, right? Right? Wrong. Whose idea at the Chicago Bulls facility was it to trade a guy who's easily worth a solid first-round pick, if not 2 mid to late first-round picks, a multiple-time defensive All-NBA player, for just Josh Giddey? And you already have Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White. Where are you going to play Josh Giddey? Are you going to play Coby White off the ball? No, he needs the ball in his hands. That's why he was so good when Zach LaVine was out, is because he had the ball in his hands more. I can't believe it. If I'm a Chicago Bulls fan, I was already pissed because you didn't pick a direction. At least you picked a direction, right? Alex Caruso for just Josh Giddey? You didn't even get no picks. What are you thinking? A good point I made here is, what do you do with Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu? Ayo looked poised for a bigger role towards the end of the season. His last 10 games, he averaged 16.5 points. It was a rough turnover to assist ratio for sure, but 4 rebounds, 1.2 assists on 35 minutes a game while shooting nearly 46% from 3. For the season, he averaged over 40% from 3 on over 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and a steal on 29 points per game. A solid step forward season, especially in the three-point department, as the season before this, his three-point percentage was as low as 31.2% for the season. A 9% increase in one season is pretty incredible. Again, great bounce back year with a small sophomore slump in efficiency. And look, if you're a contender, you're not starting Ayo Dosunmu, but this team is not contending. If you're rebuilding, I would like Ayo Dosunmu to start the majority of games like he did his rookie and sophomore seasons. But no, Kobe White will once more be an off-ball player, Ayo Dosunmu will stay on the bench, and the show will be run by presumably Josh Giddey, especially now that there are these reports that the Thunder went to Josh Giddey and asked him to embrace more of an off-the-bench role next season, and Josh Giddey essentially requested a trade. Now, did the Bulls know this? Probably not. I would hope not, because if you did, they would have had some form of leverage to maybe get one of the Thunder's literally 17 first-round picks over the next few years, or even like 2 seconds, just something. How did you not get a single one? Not even a second. Just a straight-up player-for-player trade in the year of our Lord 2024 is ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like Josh Giddey isn't a real NBA player. He is. His sophomore season, he averaged 16, 7, and 8 on decent efficiency. He's not a horrible player. He belongs on a roster somewhere. And in a lot of situations, he should start. I understand how the Bulls think he could be the second coming of Lonzo Ball, but that makes me think that the Bulls are fully out on Lonzo Ball at this point. They don't believe that Lonzo Ball can ever be the same caliber of player he was before. And nothing makes that more apparent than trading for a guy that you think could be a Walmart version of Lonzo Ball. And I say Walmart version because Lonzo Ball was a much more developed player when he got here than Josh Giddey is right now. His three ball was much more consistent. His scoring ability was much more developed. Not only that, but he was quicker, a significantly better defender. He was an absolute menace on defense next to Caruso for a little bit. Giddey is really none of those things outside of his passing and vision, at least right now. His three ball is shaky, his defense is lackluster, and his athleticism leaves something to be desired. Now that can all change, and he's shown he's fully capable of at least doing multiple of those things because he was a solid player for the Thunder 2 years ago. And he was only 19 and 20 years old at the time. And it's important to remember he is only 21 years old. He's going to be younger than a lot of the players that come out of this NBA draft this offseason, and he's going into his 4th NBA season. That holds a lot of value. With that being said, Alex Caruso has Derrick White kind of influential upside. Emphasis on the influential, because obviously Alex Caruso is not as polished of an offensive player as Derrick White. And he is a bit older. It's like 6 months. But if you ever watched a little bit of his college footage at all, he has the vision to pick out some great passes from time to time. It's part of the reason why LeBron liked him so much when he was competing for a Lakers roster spot when he was an undrafted free agent. He can handle the ball like a point guard if need be, but he can also be a catch and shoot guy who can take the ball off the dribble and make athletic plays if players commit to him too hard. And obviously his defense speaks for himself, being a multiple-time All-NBA defensive guy, and he's the perfect piece to add to this OKC starting five. It's terrifying, to be completely honest. Dort and him next to each other, J-Dub showing he can be a good to great wing defender, Chet being a great help defender and shot blocker, and Shea being great in passing lanes. Like, this has a recipe to be another top 3 defense. I would be shocked if they aren't next season. For the Thunder, this offseason should really end with finding either a veteran scoring presence like a guy like Jordan Clarkson, which probably won't happen, and I don't even know if salary cap wise that could work, or a veteran center in someone like Andre Drummond. I know that's a guy that the Thunder talk about a lot, and they're probably sick of people saying Andre Drummond, so here's a couple other options. Eunice Valanciunas as a veteran center. Luke Cornett is another option if you want an NBA champion. But again, these are just names. It's possible the Thunder just roll with what they have right now and continue to play the same type of basketball they did last season, which is, yeah, you might give up a lot of rebounds, but we're going to create a lot of turnovers. And adding Alex Caruso to that lineup helps that immensely and you were already really good at it. But I'm just saying it would be nice to cover all your bases in getting a veteran center or a better scoring piece off the bench. But back to the Bulls. If the Bulls re-sign DeMar DeRozan this offseason and sell Zach LaVine for a bag of potato chips, I can confidently say that I could run the Chicago Bulls better than the front office is doing right now. And I know that's a lot to say from a guy that just makes YouTube videos occasionally, but if you're paying me all that money, I could figure out a better plan than whatever the fuck the Chicago Bulls are trying to do right now, or have been trying to do. And I get there's a lot of ownership pressure going on, and I feel like this front office is feeling the heat from a owner that wants to continue to be a contender when they don't really understand what it means or takes to be a contender. Not to mention, Patrick Williams and the Bulls couldn't agree to an extension, so he'll probably end up on the Pistons or Hornets, who will throw an obnoxious amount of money, maybe the money he asked for from the Bulls, just to invest in maybe a guy that could be better than he is. He does have potential. His jump shot feels a little like he learned how to shoot, and it's not very fluid, if that makes sense. But again, he could be a great shooter. He could add other things to his game at the NBA level. Really have no idea. Again, the Pistons aren't great at developing those guys anyway. Neither are the Hornets. So we'll see about that. But I assume Patrick Williams is not going to be on the Chicago Bulls team next year. And if he is, I assume the Bulls overpaid for him. And it sucks if you lose him because, you know, it's just losing another player that had potential. The Bulls' asset management in general is some of the worst in the NBA, if not the worst, and maybe some of the worst in all of American sports, or possibly in the entire world. It's just a horribly run organization, and it continues to baffle me every single day. If I told you last season, especially during the playoffs, that, hey, that Josh Giddey guy who can't play a single minute against the Dallas Mavericks, he's going to be traded for Alex Caruso. Not a single person would believe me. And not a single person would be like, good trade for the Bulls. No, everyone would be like, that's way too little to give up for a guy like Alex Caruso. And honestly, if you're another NBA GM, you're kind of kicking yourself, because I feel like 15 other teams could have offered a better package than just Josh Giddey. A couple picks and maybe a decent player of Josh Giddey's caliber. I feel like that could have gotten the deal done and the Bulls would have gotten a lot more out of it. But no, even if you weren't even going to keep the picks if you're the Chicago Bulls, if you were just going to use those picks to get rid of Zach LaVine in a salary dump sort of situation, at least you reset yourself at ground zero. But no, you go out and get another guard when you already have too many of them. DeMar DeRozan is a bit of an undersized wing anyway, so now you're playing small ball all the time, and that's not the way the NBA is going right now. It just frustrates me. It frustrates me, and I'm not even a Chicago Bulls fan. Good luck, Bulls fans. Hopefully this is not the end of your offseason and you do something about this. I assume Zach LaVine is out the door. Hopefully you get something for him. But as of lately, the reports have been that there's 15 offers on the table and they haven't been decided yet. So if there's 15 offers on the table, I really just want to see what 3 of them are, because I could probably imagine the rest of it. But anyway, y'all take care. Have a good one.